Hi, friends. Welcome to La Femme Bleue. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe. I do appreciate you. Thank you for listening to my stories. So, just to give you a quick update, um, I think the last video I shared that my ex, a husband, I don't think he was ever a husband, but on paper he was. But anyway, he had petitioned that I needed to um, show up for court, to physically be there, um, since I was um, asking to participate by phone. He was petitioning for me to physically be there. Not sure why, but either way, thank God for God, the judge approved for me to participate by phone. So I totally appreciate that. I thank God for answering prayers, for him being on the throne who rules over every single chaos that's going on. And I just pray that this whole thing will go away at some point. It's got to, because nothing lasts forever. Everything has a time frame. Um, and I guess this season, honestly, it has lasted longer than I thought it would. And I remember back in 2020, there was this attorney that I had consulted with, and I think we did a conference with her because at the time I was trying to make sure that this didn't have to go any further, that we could just get a piece of paper, notarize it to say, okay, our son will be kept with me, and our other two older children were already in his presence, in his care, so that together we would co-parent and still, try to be very amicable and resolve our issues. And I said, and she specifically said, just get that in writing, just a sheet of paper, nothing major, and then notarize it. But my ex had compiled, I don't know, you guys, it must be a 60-page document that he had overnighted, or at least had prioritized prioritized the mail to get it to me, and I had to sign off for on it. I mean, I think I mentioned in previous videos I did not want to sign um, the the release card when the postman came to the door. I kept on saying, "What is this? What is this?" So I'm like, I'm not signing off on anything. Finally, there was a time when he said, "Do you want me to sign off on it? I'm just gonna sign it off," and he signed off on it and left the mail. And then I realized what it was. Finally, I knew it was coming from him. I just didn't know what it was, and I did not want to sign off on it. And you won't believe it, you guys. I signed off on it, or the postman signed off on it. It was exactly on my birthday in 2020. And I was like, wow, gee, thanks. Thanks for the present, dude. Um, Meaning, I was sincerely being sarcastic when I said that, saying it to my husband, to my ex-husband. At the time, he was still my husband. But I was like, what's the chance that this stupid piece of mail would have made it here on my birthday? It's just crazy. But anyway, but still in 2020, it was on our wedding anniversary, that I actually changed my license. It wasn't planned, but I mean, dates mean a lot to me. They're significant, and so I just thought that was really interesting that it happened on those dates. Um, but Okay, I digressed a little bit. But anyway, so this attorney, she specifically said when we had a conference with her, she said, listen, you guys, this is going to cost you thousands of dollars. Just resolve it. Just the two of you. Get some things in writing, get them notarized, and then just move on. Because at the time, he and I were on speaking terms, I want to say. We were negotiating certain things, we were able to talk things out. And now we don't talk at all. It's kind of like this bitter battle. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be like this. But, everything is through email. No one calls one another. And I'm just honestly, there are times I want to call him, and they have been occasions when I did pick up the phone and said, "Hey, listen, I would prefer that you don't email me and send all this in writing because I'm not going to spend the time reading nonsense. It's better to just call, say, hey, I was thinking of this. What are your thoughts?" But no, he seems to think that I'm like his enemy. He can't pick up the phone to call. Everything is in writing and everything is through my attorney. It's just unbelievable. But anyway, so it was a happy ending to this request that he sent. That's the purpose of this video, to say I'm happy that the outcome here is that the judge ruled for me to participate by phone. And so, but still, I'm going to see an invoice that my attorney read that piece of email that he sent, and I'm going to be charged for it. And in return, I had emailed my attorney to say, hey, why is he petitioning this? Is this okay? So here's another piece of mail that he's going to read from me when I didn't have any reason to write to him other than the fact that I was concerned when I saw this email from my ex husband. So this is insane, you guys. It really is. It's like I'm paying this guy $50 to $100 to read a piece of mail. $50 to $100. I could do a lot with that. So this is where we are today. And my son, he's been dreading, you guys. I don't like the fact that the children are the ones who really feel this whole breakup process. Divorce, I really don't think it was meant to happen at all. I really think two people should make up their minds. They come together, they get married. There's no reason to not work it out. Because somehow, somewhere, there was an attraction, there was something, that a glimpse of hope that if you marry this person, you could stay with them forever. They must have been. And for me, yes, there was. I knew he wasn't the ideal package. Forgive me for saying that. But I felt that we were both young enough to work it through. I just didn't know that at some point I would have reached a roadblock where his mind wasn't open to any suggestion, any change that I would propose. He was against it. Whether it was, hey, let's save money to get another home, or let's, save money to travel the world, or let's relocate, you know, let's start fresh. Nothing. Everything was like, no, 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 no. My family's here. I want to be here. Lo and behold, his mom moved away. The family that he was counting on, his mom moved away. Um, his sister has her own life. He probably sees her maybe once or twice a year. So at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, which family was he trying to stay close to? Naturally, I'm thinking it was church family because he seems to be rooted, because he grew up in a cult. He almost has a need to be in a certain type of a community, and he didn't see that he could build a whole new community in a different area, a different state, and so he was totally against moving. Because my brother was the one who suggested it, and I was like, oh yeah, that sounds great. I mean, new area, it's just going to be us. We'll have to figure out things together, which in turn could bring us closer. But he didn't want to do that. Um, so yeah. So anyway, here we are 5 years later, still trying to get to a point where we can both compromise and not hurt each other financially and emotionally. I just don't understand it. So yes, my son has been dreading the visit. Oh my goodness. I don't even bring it up. In fact, the other day he was like, Mommy, how long am I gonna be with Daddy? He said, I don't want it to be too long. It should be a day, and then you come and get me the next day. And I answered, I said, You told me not to tell you how long, so I can't answer that. I said, You will have a phone with you. You can call me any day. Just make sure the phone is charged so that you can reach me whenever you need to. And he says, I had a nightmare. He's had these weird nightmares. Oh my goodness. I've been really being prayerful. I'm like, God, you are in control. Please protect them. He had a nightmare that this man locked him in a closet. And I said, that's not going to happen because you'll have God protecting you. And I said, well, you can always call me. And he says, yeah, but I couldn't call you because I didn't have the phone. Oh, you guys. God, I beg you to keep them safe. I know they go through these emotional traumas, and I don't believe the voice is intended. It's definitely not an intention. It wasn't intended in the Bible for sure. For those who are Bible believers and followers, it's definitely not intended for, when I think about the process, I'm like, what kind of madness is this? To go to the altar, you have all your friends and family surrounding you, and everybody's happy and you're celebrating. And then for years later, all of a sudden you want to destroy each other. What kind of nonsense is that? How do you get from point A to point Z? At some point, there's got to be a midpoint where the two of you take a look at the situation and say, you know what? We got to make a change. And I did that. We went through so many counselors and pastors because I suggested it. I saw the red flags over and over, over and over. I knew there were certain things I could not deal with. I did not want to fully compromise on. And I had hoped that if we continued to seek counsel, that at some point he would see the light and he would make these changes. And he wouldn't. And that frustrated me because everyone kept on saying, you need to submit to this man. I'm like, no, behind closed doors, this man is clueless. And I'm not submitting to someone who has no idea how to lead himself, never mind someone else. And so that's where we were. And I thought, following the pastor's guidelines, that he would have been able to pivot really and figure out how together we could live this life and start a family. And it was not so. So if you are, and I sincerely mean this, if you are thinking of getting married, take the time to go through the pre-council as much as possible. Get, if there are red flags, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't think that, oh yeah, I'll be able to convince him to do this or change his mind, or don't do it. It's too frustrating. It's time consuming. It's a waste of time. Don't do it. I'm not saying it's all going to be peachy and rosy before you say I do, but there are certain key things you can't compromise on. You know, whether it's your faith, um, future plans, how you envision your life. You know, this man has had no vision, number one. And number two, he's never wanted more than what he had. So if he had one pair of shoes, he was happy with it. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Run it to the ground until it's time for you to buy another pair. But that's not the man for me at all. You know, I work hard and I want to play harder. I'm not gonna run one pair of shoes to the ground and then go and buy another. No, I want several. Yes, you know, and that's always been my case. I mean, ever since I was 15, I had a job, and so I knew what it meant to save. I'm very frugal with my money. But I also developed a shoe fetish, and I love shoes. I love my feet to look pretty. I remember when I was in my teenage years, I had worked in a shoe store. So whenever, of course, we got a shipment, of course, the I would look to see if I liked the style. You know, I would take my size and put my size to this, put it in the back room so that I could purchase it. You know, because a lot of times they would have two of the same, two sizes, and so if I didn't grab one, um, immediately, then they definitely would not have my particular size. So, um, yeah, I think I said that correctly. They would have two pairs in my size. And so, I would quickly grab one so that, at least I would have my shoe size in that particular style. But anyway, so yeah, so I just think, I mean, over the years, I've learned how to bargain as well. I've learned how to shop for things that I want at the price that I want them. I mean, I had a position where I was traveling overseas to purchase um, items for a certain collection. So, so I know what's what I know what every item should cost, to be honest. And I know when they're shipped overseas, yeah, at the retail, of course, they're going to try to double and triple. So because of that, I have a keen eyes for certain things and how much they should cost and so forth. Um, so I definitely do not like to squander my money. But at the same time, I do like quality things, and I do like to have multiple things. Whether it's a pair of shoes, multiple pairs, or multiple bags. And I um, I went to a store once and I saw these sandals that I liked. I was like, oh, okay. They had them in orange and white. So I got them in both colors. I was like, you know what? When I'm done wearing this pair, I'm probably going to wish that I had gotten the other pair. So I got both. And on top of that, I got a pair for my best girlfriend. so, so I was like, and it's funny because growing up, every time I would see a pair of shoes, I'm like, yeah, she would like them too. So I'm just going to grab a pair for her. And so that was how, excuse me, we ended up being the best of friends. And I remember the day that she said, hey, you're my best friend. I never really utilized that terminology before, but when she said it, I was like, yeah, we are best friends. I just never put a label on it. I just treated her as a sister, you know? But I think that's going to be my next episode, you guys. I'm going to talk to you about my girlfriends because over the years I've had some really, really wonderful girlfriends, and they each played pivotal roles in my life. And I think I want to create a post as a tribute to them. All right. So until we talk next time, have a good rest of your day. God bless you. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for tuning in.